thing on YouTube. Uh, yeah, last time I streamed on YouTube, I fucked up like every audio setting there was. So hopefully this time is not any issues there. And for anyone who has questions along the way, you can ask at any point. Either coming off mute, I can unmute you. I think I have permissions to do that. And then if not, just type everything out in the chat. What I'll probably do is I'll be writing down a lot of this stuff that you guys are saying. If it's quick, I'll just cover it in a moment. If not, I'll sort of leave it for later on. So I think Mike, who asked for? Yeah, Mike, you asked for coin. Yeah, I'll look at that in a second. I might just go through these alphabetically and just spam through them. Smith, baby girl, are you Caucasian? Who are you asking? All right, I'm just gonna start going through these. Also, SPX update all the time when it's trading. I think I'm looking at it right now and it's going up. SPX updating right now? I thought it was only till 8 p.m. Holy, my computer is slow. Oh yeah, SPX is updating. So yeah, I mean it updates overnight, but it's a lot less volume traded on SPX overnight, so it's tends to be way less movement that we're seeing on the overnight maps. So feel free to look at it, but most people just cut it off and then check back in best on market open. 24. Yeah, I don't know about that one, Hazy. The futures overnight. Yeah, I stay away from. All right, hold up, my computer's lagging. Raise hand first. Typically, you're trying to play overnight. Hope you're joking. Yeah, it started. This is already on YouTube. It's live streaming, so then once I finish, it'll just be there. Oh, you're trying to get filled end of day. Got you. All right. So I didn't chart previous to this, so I'll just be ripping through these. I will be writing down anything that y'all ask for, and then just cover those at the end. But I'll just sort of go through live any of these maps. Anything that looks interesting, I'll chart out and do my best to explain. But yeah, I mean, let me see here. So Apple already moved. Yeah, Apple I wouldn't really look at. That one already moved based on Friday. Um, so Archer. Yeah, wow. Okay. 1 second. My computer's really slow right now. Let me see if I can close a few things. This is annoying. All right. So Archer, if we somehow manage to come sweep these levels down here, I'd probably be interested. Sort of be low range. The issue here is we kind of have a rug pull. Yeah, I don't know about Archer. So Archer, it moved well a couple weeks ago, and then it set into some pretty heavy chop. So yeah, actually, I might avoid that. Accenture, I was interested in, but it looks like we broke above this 280 ceiling. Um, so I'm not too. Guys, I'm in a chair now. That was. I'm back in full desk setup, so no need to be concerned. Um, but yeah, Accenture, I was hoping for 280 to hold. Looks like we're hovering above, so this one I sort of ignored for today. Adobe looks kind of interesting. Baba looked good when I checked Sunday, bigger S. So yeah, I'll double check that in a second. Yeah, Adobe The reason it does look somewhat clean for short, right? Off like 310-ish. The reason I don't love it, and this 310 level actually is pretty good, right? So it's a previous support. If we get that to flip to resistance, it could be pretty good. Um, the only thing I'd be cautious on here, and this goes for any ticker, right? Any ticker that just got delivered from a level. So this 290 node that we're looking at, right? That we have huge volume on for GEX and VEX on Adobe. Let me pull this up here so you can see it side by side. Um, so when you see this kind of major volume, right? But we just pumped from those levels last week. I always tell people just keep a track of these nodes. And then as the days, as we approach this 310, if these start getting cut in half, like getting pretty major drops in volume, then I'd be a bit concerned to take it. But if we remain, if we keep a lot of this volume here and we don't see a lot of growth at 310, then I think it's still fine to short once we hit 310. But so yeah, Adobe, I think I'd be pretty interested if we do get some kind of push towards 310. This alert down here, that must have been old. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. But yeah, Adobe doesn't look bad. Is there any video to look and read heat maps? I mean, learning as the ticker and color. Yeah, so Shadow Striker, have you looked at Glitches YouTube? So I'll go ahead and do this. So Shadow Striker, if you go to the docs, right, this little book, top right corner, um, this is something that I'll just go ahead and tell everybody. So it's going to pull up this document, right? This is going to give you a bit of information written to go through and learn how it works. If you go over here towards the help page, there's going to be a couple things here. One, it's going to have the links towards the docs, as well as Patternpedia, but also it's going to have a link towards Glitches YouTube. So I would recommend you go over here to Glitches YouTube. Um, for just general reading of the maps, you're going to want to look at this 101 session. So what I probably recommend is you go through the most recent, let me think here. If you're doing individual tickers that you're focused on, I would go through 101 session and then look at the 103 session. That was pretty swing focused. If you're more focused on indexes, I would just watch the most recent 5 videos. Like all of those are going to be pretty applicable. But this 101 and sniping masterclass is going to give you info on indexes. And then these most recent 3 are just like case studies, basically, where Glitch goes through a specific day and is sort of just sharing his thoughts and what trades he saw and that he played. So, yeah, that's where I recommend you start Shadow Striker. And then any questions along the way, I just sent you a friend request and just send me any questions in the DMs. So yeah, if you're into, well, I don't know if you mean options, index options or individual options, but if you're doing mostly indexes or individuals, then I'd recommend the 101 and the 103 sessions are probably going to be most useful. I can't actually remember what this advanced strategies is about, but I'll need to figure that out. But anyways, yeah, all that stuff is going to be accessible if you go through this help page here off the docs page. Individual. Okay, yeah, then I'll start with the 101 and 103 sessions. That'll probably help you out quite a bit. And yeah, feel free to DM with any questions from there. Uh, yeah, good point. Time, like a lot of those videos I'll watch pretty frequently. All right, so let me see here. Do I have a watch list made? What are these? All right. Yeah, let me go ahead and add anything that looks decent to the watch list, and I'll try to post to Twitter or in the server for everybody who missed this. Okay. All right, I'm gonna keep going through these because this can take a while if I start taking too many breaks. So ALAB, yeah, GTLB, Craig, I'll make a note of that. Open, hazy, yeah, I wrote that down. ALAB off this 155 actually looks pretty good. Yeah, we're just getting delivered from 180 though, so let me see here. Yeah, I would still say this 155 looks solid, so don't mind this one. All right. I think someone had asked for AMD, so I'll take a look at this. Guys, I'll get through most of these tickers. I'm going alphabetical, so it'll could take a while. Okay. I mean, AMD looks like a mess. I'll be honest. Let me think here. I mean, yeah, low of the week, like any kind of major pullback, I'd be looking for 235-ish. Let's see, this 240 level, it's gotten pretty disrespected, honestly. I don't know. This level's not as relevant anymore. So we have maybe like until here. So yeah, based on recent price structure, I'd be looking sort of these levels around here. So at this 235-ish, if you look at like the top here at this wick, is probably what I'd be looking for as a safe play. I mean, they issue with these maps, right? And I think if you look in Patternpedia, these are just like it's a pretty good example of a rainbow map. Like, sure, we can start trying to figure out what level's gonna hold, but then the issue here is right. Even if we catch a bounce off like 245, let's say, we're looking at like a couple points of upside, and it's just there's so many nodes in the way that these can get very messy, right? So the reason I like 235, like a lot of times when I see this just like mess, I'll just say, okay, I'll consider it if we hit either extreme end. So 235, maybe even 240 if that level holds. But like I'm not too interested in playing all this like middle, not junk, but like let's say like the mess that's going on in the middle. So I would probably just ignore AMD myself. Time. Yeah, I mean you can scalp. I generally don't scalp. If I'm gonna go scalp, I'll do the indexes, right? And then I save. Usually, I try to save the individual tickers for something that looks like it can have a pretty good extended move, and then that's what I'm trying to play. Um, Again, that's personal preference though. So it's if you are more comfortable scalping, you can, and in that case, you would have to be looking at more of these like lower time frame levels. But I generally am looking for more extended moves on a lot of these tickers. Um, so I think ARM may have actually bounced today. 5 second, 5 second on an individual ticker is crazy. So I believe, yeah, ARM off this 114 node looked decent for today. It looks like we already bounced. We almost hit it basically. We missed by like 20 cents. But this 125 node looks pretty nice. The Let me think here. So honestly, it's possible if we bounce, come retest again, like if we kind of double bottom on this 114, that could be worth playing. So I'd be looking for just a sweep of whatever the low was yesterday. On I think pre-market it swept low, so like 114.1 ish. Um, yeah, but definitely that 125 node is very interesting. That would basically be if we can come up here and double top. I probably wouldn't, even if we do get some kind of move, you'd just be targeting this swing high that we just had. But yeah, arm looks decent. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, my computer is really slow right now. This is really annoying. Um, ASML might be one of the like 50 windows I have open. Let me go try to close some of these. All right. 1385. Yeah, so ASML I'll be looking at this wick. If we come and retest, it's a bit below 1385. 1385 is more just It's actually sort of the middle, so actually I don't like that node too much based on the chart. But on this one, I'd be looking either at this 1395 level, so it's sort of the top of this range that held, or the bottom of the range. So it's 1375, 1395 could be interesting for a push higher. But let me check what the VEX looks like actually. Yeah, VEX supports. I mean, this is a pretty good example of a two node setup. So I'll call these like range setups, right? Where we have a strong ceiling above, a strong floor below. Price is currently in the middle. The logic here is, all right, let's just wait for one end to hit either end and then just play the reversal. Now, due to this being due to this pushing all-time highs, I typically will size way smaller or skip the short of all-time highs. So I'd prefer if we get a pullback and play the bounce on a case like this. But yeah, I'd probably be looking. This 1385 on the chart is not a clear level, so I'd probably just be waiting for this 1375. We bounced off it once pretty well here today, and then this was previous high, so it's pretty strong level there. Okay. ASTS, interesting. This one doesn't look bad. Oh shoot. Oracle UNH. All right, I'm trying to write everything down, y'all. All right. ASTS looks pretty good off 100 actually. So obviously we waked really hard off it last week. Yeah, resistance turned to support. I think this one's pretty simple, right? So ASTS looks pretty good. We just need a bit more of a pullback. We have this is a pretty good example of looking for GEX VEX confluence, right? So for example, this 105 level, um, you can play the bounce off that. This is a good example of two things. One, playing the outside of the range. So the reason I prefer to play off 100 than 105 is that we're seeing a stronger level and more sustained, right? So this has strong volume over 3 weeks. So usually I'll say, okay, 100 is probably going to give a stronger reaction. The other reason I like it more is it has VEX confluence, right? So when I see on the VEX side that we also have strong volume here at this 100, um, not super strong, but like some volume, right? Like this is about 1/3 of our peak positive node up here. It's about a quarter of the king node. I'm more inclined to take this 100 off this 100 level for upside than off the 105. But yeah, ASTS overall, I think it looks pretty decent if we can drop and hit that level at 100. Vigo doesn't really see much. Okay, I think Axon looks bullish. The issue with Axon is it's monthly. So if you look, we're basically targeting plays of like half a year on this one. So I typically don't play these very often. We don't have much of a floor. I guess this 595-ish could be a strong level. But no, yeah, based on this one, I'd probably say we don't have a super strong floor on Axon. Unless we get this level to hold again, but we're not seeing much confluence on the maps for that 600 to hold. The level looks pretty weak. So yeah, I'd probably skip on that one. What is this, Boeing? So Boeing pulled back to 240? All good, Jake. Although Jake, if you're waiting for if you're waiting for a Walmart, that's gonna be way at the end. So Boeing off 240 looks good. The only issue here is we would be playing a triple bottom. So that's probably the main concern. Also, I don't know if we'll even get there. It looks like this 247-ish level could hold. Um, yeah, let me think here. Yeah, so again, chart price action is always going to go above, like going to go first. So then, due to seeing that triple bottom, I'd probably shy away from Boeing. Um, okay, so Baba looks good. Okay, so it still looks good. Yeah, I remember this looking good from yesterday. Right, so what do we have? So Baba, this 170 level. Where is this? Like here, roughly, right? Where we had this high wick. Looks like it bounced off it a little bit today. So, I mean, yeah, and looking at this now, today was probably the entry on Baba, but if we manage to just hover around here, drop a couple bucks, you can probably still justify taking that entry. But so here on Baba, right, we have strong floor at 170. We have a bit of confluence, not much, but we have like a softish level on Vex for it. But the key thing here is like we have almost all upside pull on Vex, right? 180 and 190. The one thing I would check with Baba is I think if you look at this yesterday, the 200 level is much stronger. So it looks like the downside did roll down to 190 and 180, which is still fine, right? Like a $10 move is still pretty good. And it would make sense based on the chart, right? If we can get a strong hold of 170 and a bounce, pushing towards this recent swing high would be realistic. So that's probably what I'd be looking for on Pablo. Is like, all right, can we hold this 170, come retap it, and then push higher off of that towards 180. So yeah, Pablo also looks good. Yeah, I keep forgetting to flag these. App. I already went over app, so it must not have looked good. Yeah, I mean, to me, app just has nodes everywhere. I mean, I can check the chart, but I probably not. Based on the map, I'm not very interested on app. Let me see here. Yeah, it looks like app already held this buy zone. So I have the zone marked out a while ago. Like this 510, 520-ish zone. So it looks like we already held that twice now, actually. So we wicked down last week and late. Well, we hit it twice last week, right? Early in the week and then later towards Friday. Or was that Thursday? No, Friday. We had another wick down. So app, I'd probably say we already bounced what, 510, like $20. So I'd probably just be ignoring that by now. Bank of America, not much there. There's not much on these. So no, Baidu also is kind of check the chart, but it looks like it's stuck in the middle of this range. So Baidu off of 150, potentially I could see. So we have this level here. Man, my chart is super slow. Ugh, it's really annoying. All right. So we had this level that acted as resistance a couple times. It kind of got disrespected throughout these days here. But we did pump, drop, and then bounce pretty hard off of it last week on Tuesday. So let me think here. If we can get another drop back down to 150, sort of the bottom of this range, I'd be interested in Baidu. But we also have pretty good volume on Vex there. Yeah, yes, I can see that. If we get further drop back down here towards like 151, 150. Just not sure if we will. Looks like we already bounced pretty hard. So if we bounce off any kind of fib retracement or maybe even off these levels around here at 153-ish, it'll we won't get as far of a drop that we want, but it has potential if we're able to drop a bit lower. But this gec's a bit messy, I'll be honest. At least in the currently. Babe has super low volume even though the map looks fairly decent. What's up, him? Shop. Yeah, I'll put shop on the list. What is Babe? It's some kind of biopharmaceutical. I'll probably just skip this. I usually don't play that sector because it's crazy with all the news drops. Yeah, so Bib looked like the bounce was last week. This is a pretty clean support resistance flip here off this 160-ish. Um, yeah, so I'm probably not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna look at that. Let me see. Yeah, booking looks like a mess. Blink, I'm not gonna look at. BMNR. Hmm. BMNR maybe off 29 would be a good ceiling. Yep, Dell I'll add to the list. Off 29. Uh, yeah, we kind of do have a level here that we bounced off a couple times. I don't know if this is the strongest level though. Let me think here. Actually, this double bottom was nice. Shoot, I missed that last week. Yeah, they should be MNRs. Even if we hit 29 and reject, this 28, 27 node is going to get in the way. Like, those are potential floors. So then we just don't have too much room to run. So that's the reason I don't like that. This, yeah, it's also a big point I've been making on the index side is, and this applies for everything, right? Is like, don't only look at where we can bounce off of, but also consider once we bounce, right, what is price likely to do? So if there's a lot of floors and ceilings, if you're taking calls and there's a lot of ceilings in the way, sometimes I'll avoid a play just because of that, right? Because in my view, sure we can get a pump upwards, but if we just have very limited upside, it's not going to be worth my time, right? Because it's going to be something where it's more of a scalp. So if you're looking for more extended moves, that's something that I would be just be cognizant of that, right? Because it can give you a lot of insights. Big money moves. I use 1 hour, 4 hour when I'm charting all of these. If it gets to more macro, I'll switch to like daily or weekly. But the reason I like to see the 4 hour, I like to use the 4 hours because I can see overnight price action. Because a lot of times these wicks from overnight. So for example here, right? I don't know if this wick was in during market open or overnight. But a lot of times I like to see these wicks. Like they'll be pretty strong levels. Like if you see here on Webull, right? This wick was exactly where we bounced off of quite a few times, honestly. Um, so So actually, this Webull 7.5 floor has been tested. Well, not 7.5, but 7.65 has been tested 4 times. This is the fifth test. So I'm not too I'm not too hot on Webull on playing this kind of bounce. The other issue with Webull is its IPO, recent IPO. So then if we fall under this level, we have zero chart structure to go off of. So I tried Webull a few times already. I'm just gonna quit on it. I'll just let it do whatever it wants, but I'm not liking the how it's moving very much. Jen, what time frame do I drop to entry? Um, oh, same time frame. Because basically I'm not waiting for any level to hold or reject on the lower time frames. Basically, the way I do is I mark out a level, and if once price hits that level, if the chart and the map, like if the map still supports the thesis at the time of price hitting it, that level, I'll take the play at whatever moment it is, right? So I use the same logic as on indexes, right? So it's trying to buy calls as price drops and trying to buy puts as prices pushing upwards, right? So it's a bit different to how Jewel trades, right? Like Jewel is looking, he probably drops down to maybe the 15, 30 minute, I think. And he's looking for, okay, is price going to hold that level or not before entering? I don't though. So it's uh, I think one is like I just don't want to spend that time monitoring the levels and the price action, just because whether it's due to work or you're trying to trade indexes or whatever else. I just like to keep it pretty time efficient. Um, but yeah, so you know, once you set the alert, you know if it's tapped or not. So I'm willing to take that entry, um, as long as the thesis is there, showing that both on the chart and on the heat map that we're likely to have a bounce, right? But yeah, end of the day, like there's always a risk that levels get violated or they overshoot. So it's also once levels get tapped, if I see that we've already overshot a bit, what I'll probably do is just be a little bit more ambitious on the buy limit. Whereas if we barely tap a level, it looks like we're already waking up. Sometimes I'll not get too greedy on what fill I'm trying to get on whatever contract I'm purchasing. Hopefully that helps, Jen. Yeah, Rocket Lab I'll get to. All right. Citigroup. No, I'd say that range is probably too compressed. Cake, I don't. All right, I don't even know what this is. Yeah, some of these tickers on here, I don't even know why we have them. I think Caterpillar has earnings this week, so I'm gonna ignore that. And I also think it already ran. Let me double check on this. Yeah, Caterpillar already ran pretty hard today. Yeah, so I'll stay away there. Like this one, actually, this play is really nice. Um, two taps as resistance. I guess technically it was a triple bottom. Yeah, so actually maybe not ideal setup, but it did hold this level very strongly. Like it wicks strong below, got a strong bounce. But yeah, due to earnings, I would suggest don't look any further at Caterpillar. I think Kava also already ran. I think John had mentioned he played this, so he probably played it. Oh no, maybe not. Was he looking for an entry on this? Okay, I might be mistaken there. But it bounced off the 62 very nicely. What looks like it's trying to hold the 62 actually. So this Kava one doesn't look too bad. Let me check. Actually, if it hovers at this level, it could be pretty decent. Yeah, it's all upside volume for this week and next week. The issue is this floor is not very strong. Like I would prefer to see a stronger floor at 62, 63 for this. But based off the chart support resistance, Kava looks pretty good. The maps are giving it a pretty nice target upside. But again, whenever we get these drops from, we just got delivered from these levels, a lot of times these nodes will just start rolling down. So big thing here is I'd probably be playing 2 weeks out or a little further for 70 because I would expect a lot of this $70 volume to roll down towards 66 as we as the week goes on. That's my expectation, right? And even then, if we get this bounce, 66 is going to give pretty good chunk of resistance towards any upward move. All right, I don't know what the CC. I don't know what this company is. I remember someone sent some post about this on Twitter into the group chat. Looks like it held this level very well. It's 15.7. Oh, this is quantum related? I think quantum was getting smacked down today though. Thanks for the info, Hazy. Yeah, the weird thing here is this $25 OPEX node is insane. So I wonder how much contracts cost for OPEX. Like a $20 call on OPEX and just play like a pure lotto. Let me go check. Oh, SPAC merger. Okay. Thanks, Jake. I don't know. I mean, might be worth a lotto, but again, those Feb 20 nodes, those are all OPEX, right? So you're gonna see some pretty crazy nodes if you just look at those. Also, this ticker has IVs of like 150%. So yeah, you may also just get killed a bit by volatility crush. So yeah, I'll probably ignore that. Like to me, that looks almost pure lotto. I wouldn't be looking at it too much, especially if there's some news coming in, a risk of news coming in. What is this? Carnival Cruise Lines? This has a pretty good level here that we held a support, resistance once, held as support once, and then we came and hit it again. We kind of already bounced it off of it, but it's been chopping pretty hard since then. So if we can manage, like it's had a lot of periods of consolidation, right, under this 29 level. So I typically won't play these like breaks, but we have had a lot of consolidation between 28 and 29, right? So if we do manage to break above and like hold 29, I'd be pretty interested. So maybe some kind of break and retest for further upside could be decent. Going into, let me check what the VEX looks like. Yeah, pushing towards 31 by OPEX, but again, one thing that would be nice to see here, and a lot of times what'll give me a bit more confidence in for anyone that's new on any of these OPEX nodes is if are we seeing volume the weeks before, right? So on February 6 and 13, are we seeing nodes that sort of lead us into these higher nodes or nothing, right? So when we have no kind of nodes staircasing up, I view that a little bit sort of like as a missing confluence. Like I would have much preferred to see that present on those maps. What is this, Celsius? So Celsius, I had talked about this with somebody. Who was it? Jake, maybe? Um, this 53 level looks pretty strong, but I have gotten screwed a bit on Celsius in the past. Also, it's been on quite the run, so yeah, I'd probably be looking for 53, maybe even this week down here, 52.5, just as a deeper pullback before any kind of continuation upwards. But let me see. Yeah, we do have significant volume there. The issue is there, like, what is the target? We don't really. I guess you could be targeting this 56 node 2 weeks out. Um, but yeah, overall, it looks okay. I don't know if I'd say I love it though. SPACs usually die after merger vote. All right, yeah, then probably just ignore CCCX. Thanks, Hazy. What is the difference between NetGex and FX? Yeah, so like the literal difference is Gex is gamma, and Vex is Vanna exposure. Um, what that means is gamma is a derivative of the delta on these contracts, and Vanna is a derivative of the volatility on these contracts. So that's like the technical definition, but yeah, for like how can we use it to our advantage? Gex is always going to be short-term driven moves, and the Vex will be long-term. Now, just because one is short and one's longer term doesn't mean that we just ignore one side, right? Like I'll still look at Vex for weekly plays because let's say like there's been many times, right, where I'll see Gex that's pretty even split between two levels, and we're kind of just hovering in the middle, right? So then the logic is like I'd play the reversal off either side, whichever one we hit first, whether it's the ceiling or the floor. But if I look at the Vex and the Vex has all the volume towards one side, what I'll do is if I'm playing the reversal towards that Vex node, it may give me a bit more confidence because I'm saying, okay, look, it looks like we have a lot of long-term volume there, right? So to give me a bit more confidence in those kind of setups. Um, so I would still check both, even if you're planning on playing a weekly. It can still be very informative to look at both sides. Vic, top three play. No, I mean I'm going through charting for the first time right now, so um, yeah, I'm noting down all the plays that I like, and then I'll probably filter through them later, and then send them out in swing ideas. Um, but yeah, hopefully that helped answer your question, Shadow. But yeah, so primarily the way we use them is like since the GEX is short term, we use that overwhelmingly to find our entries, especially for individual tickers, right? Is where we see some strong floors and support and ceilings. And the VEX a lot of times we'll use as our targets, right? So if we have a strong floor this week and then we're seeing VEX nodes all pointing upwards over the next 2 weeks, that can tell us, okay, like I think a 2 or 3 week swing should do pretty well on a given ticker, right? So you sort of merge what you see across both of them together to build like one overall bias, if that makes sense. CFLT has some news. It's just been hovering around this 31 level. I would honestly just take her off your watch list if you even have it. Like I would just ignore that. I think the same as EA. Like EA got bought out by some Saudi something like that, I believe. And then it's just been chopping at a given level for a while. Okay, we're not seeing much of a floor here on any of these. It's looking pretty messy. I think Chipotle's been running pretty hard, actually. Actually, I'm curious what Chipotle looks like. Also, it's finally pulling back, actually. I would like Chipotle if we can get a strong floor. The issues, I guess this 39 level looks okay, but it looks like the maps are showing 39.5. Yeah, so I'd like if 39 can sort of form as our low of the week, potentially playing a bounce there. But it does also look like we have a lot of lower volume going into OPEX, so also it's 39 is a triple bottom. I feel like a lot of the setups I've seen are triple bottoms. Yeah, so again, yeah, I'll probably just skip Chipotle based off of that alone. Um, okay. Yeah, so someone asked me about coins, so I'll pull this one up. Protein balls. I mean, I think Chipotle got nuked after their last earnings, which I think was the bigger issue. Coin, let me flip to the higher time frame. Just because we've fallen below some of the levels I had drawn, so we're not really at any kind of structure right now. Okay, so coin on the weekly. This is interesting. We're definitely hitting some fib level here. Or we're very close. Uh, Shadow. Yeah, I'll get to NVIDIA. Oh, it's already 10. Man, I always go too slow through this stuff. Um, so coin, like long-term macro, I'd be pretty interested off like this 210-ish. Actually, it's a bit lower, 207. Oh, but coin has earning. Wait, when is this? Oh no, that's not for 2 weeks. Let me see. We just don't really have a strong level here on Coinbase. I guess you can look at this level here. We rejected a couple times in the past as resistance. So if we look for that to flip a support, say there's 213 all the way down to like maybe 207 if we're looking at the second golden pocket, can be potential levels that we're going to hold. Yeah, issue with coin is some of the structure is pretty far back, so just make sure when you're charting, you're looking back to where we have recent structure. But yeah, it's taken quite a beating. I think Bitcoin's been falling pretty hard recently too. So let me see. Now, like based off the maps, we have this strong node up here at 260. Next week we have some nodes at 235. We just don't have very strong of a floor. So based off the chart, like I see a potential buy zone anywhere in this area. Based off the map though, maybe this 212. But this is a pretty soft floor. So it looks okay, but I don't know if I love it. I mean, it looks decent. But I might be waiting just a little bit more, see if we dip a little further. App 650. I think I already went over app. Yeah, so app has a huge node up there. I already went over. Was it Vic maybe that asked about this? Um, what did I say about app? I think what I said is we already kind of double bottomed here, right? So then, like this demand zone looks like we already bounced off. 650 though. I mean, yeah, if we push 650, it doesn't really. You could buy now and be fine. That's a what $110 move. I don't know how are we gonna move 110 bucks in 2 days or 2 weeks. I mean, But yeah, that node is massive. And earnings is not till after, right? Yeah, earnings not till the week after that. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that node. Like, it seems super extreme for us to push that much. But we are holding this demand zone. I mean, I don't know. It could be true. I don't see much supporting it on the maps. The chart looks like we'll hold it, but like, I don't know. Like, I'd see us running into some resistance at 600. Like, we had a pretty strong support zone there. Um, so it's possible this explodes. Those kind of nodes, like when we're waiting for like a 15-20% move on a ticker, I usually don't play them anymore. Like, I'd only recommend playing them if it's like larger port and you can just throw a lotto on it. Longer swing on app. Vic, yeah, if you're looking at more long term, well, the big issue there, well, not issue, but like be cautious with earnings because earnings is in a couple weeks. But if we hold this demand zone on like the 520, 530, then longer term probably looks okay. CLSK and Hood, yeah. Tesla, okay. Let me see. I'm trying to think when is my. Wait, let me check when I have a 101 just so I know how to paste this. Because I probably won't be able to go. I will, actually, no, I'll definitely not be able to go through everything. So I have 101 at 11. All right. All right. So yeah, I'll keep going alphabetical for a little bit. So yeah, Coinbase looks okay. Cores, yeah, Cores just has no data really. Costco, guess this Costco 970 looks decent for a bounce. Yeah, this 970 level looks okay, right where we held. Previous resistance, bounced off it once. If we can come back down, hit it again, get a second bounce. The thing with Costco, actually, it looks like it's not happening anymore. But I know, well, one, like Costco's super extended, right? So again, this is just the general principle. We're playing reversal. So when we get this kind of extended move, and now we're fighting, not fighting, but like we're trying to capture this, final 10, 20 bucks, it's always going to be more risky, right? So in general, I'd probably just skip Costco due to that. Same reason, like today on the indexes, right? Like we pushed hard in the morning. So anytime you're chasing another 30% scalp upside in the middle of the day or late in the day, it's always going to be a little riskier, right? Because we've just had such an extended move. So a lot of the juice has been used up, is the way I think of it, right? Um, and sure, we may get some smaller fluctuations, but you're always going to be, it's more of a scalp at that point. And typically I'm looking for, can we try to catch some of these more major reversals as they start versus later on once they've already happened, right? So that's probably what I would think of Costco. When is the Costco sales report? No, I have no idea. Craig, PanW, I know for a fact looks pretty good. I think some people already took it actually. I think I heard someone, I read someone talking about that one. Yeah, I'll give it a look in a second. CoreWeave had news. I would ignore that 85 node because we just pumped off the weekend. Uh, after I think Core moved like 10 to 15% today. I would just ignore that for the whole week. Same reason as Costco, right? Like that move's already happened. Just let it happen. Don't try to chase anything left over. Dropbox. Yeah, a lot of these maps look pretty bad. I'll be honest. I think DDog also pumped pretty strong. Yes, I think Datadog pumped pretty strong. It looks like they're flipping some of these ceilings up with it. Yeah, so Datadog's been running pretty hard. Yeah, this one I'm pretty sad about. I had a charted macro and I just forgot. I don't think I set an alert, but off this Tuesday tap, this is $20 move since that Tuesday tap. But yeah, Datadog, we've just ran since 130. But if you look at the GEX, right, they've already slid some floors in at 133, 135. So also doesn't look very good to short just because they're already sliding in some of those levels, right? So it looks like Datadog should continue upwards a bit more, but again, that major reversal already happened, so I'd be not too interested there. Okay, Dell. I think someone asked for Dell. STX earnings. Yeah, I can check. Oh shoot, MU and SNDK. MU and SNDK, all that memory stuff. Since it's been pumping so, I mean, I'll check it out, but since it's been pumping so hard, a lot of times the way I treat those is the nodes have just not caught up to price, right? So as we've had such a strong push, and a pretty good example is CoreWeave, right? Like CoreWeave just ran huge today, but if you look at the maps, all those nodes are still left over at prices from last week, um, or like previous. So then the way I look at that is just, okay, we've had a major move and sort of the nodes haven't caught up with what price is doing yet. So memory, I think from memory, sorry, from what I recall, all the memory tickers are in a similar situation where it's like they've just pumped pretty heavy. So a lot of those downside nodes are like still trying to roll up, if that makes sense. Dell, I don't remember who asked for Dell, but I mean, let me see here. I guess we have this trend line here. Wow. What? Oh, there we go. So I have this trend line here. We don't have too many nodes. Whoever mentioned Dell, were you looking at this 126 maybe? Or are you more interested in this OPEX downside? I don't really see much here. I mean, it looks like we we had this level here that we hit twice and bounced. Looks like we dipped below and we're trying to reclaim it now. So if we manage to hold this 115-ish, doesn't look too bad actually. Like now that we've sort of broken below, reclaimed it, retested again. If we can hold this 115-ish and get the trendline break, we could see a pretty good move here. But our upside is towards 118, so that's like the swing high here. This 118 and 1, especially this 118-ish level could give some resistance, but yeah, I think if you load any kind of plate here on Dell, you're counting on this 115 to hold, this pretty soft node here. Looks like we have like 500,000, so it's pretty weak. Yeah, and sort of we have this 118 that can build some resistance, but if we do get this full trendline break, then we could get a pretty good move. But yeah, it's just not very strong nodes on the map. But the chart structure doesn't look too bad, honestly. Okay. So that was Dell. DHI, I think, is an ETF. Oh no, DIA is an ETF. I generally don't play the ETFs, like any of the maps. Like I'd rather just look at the actual ticker themselves, right? Or whatever makes it up, and just play those. So sometimes I'll use it as like a confluence. Okay, this is interesting. DKS. Sometimes I'll use those ETFs as a confluence, but a lot of times I won't play them themselves, just because I'd rather go look within if the ETF is bullish or bearish, what I'll do is I'll just go look at what makes it up, and I'll just sort of pick out the most bullish or bearish setups out of that, so it agrees with the bias I have from the ETF itself. Dick's Sporting Goods. So the reason I said this is interesting is on the VEX. We do have this node here at 195, but if it wasn't for that, right, we have almost all upside volume on this VEX nodes. Oh, these are monthly contracts. Uh, okay, I like it a little bit less. Those Vex nodes I'm targeting. I mean, you're basically playing leaps at this point. Those Vex nodes are for June. Yeah, I guess on Dix, if we come sweep this level, then it looks pretty good. We can sweep this like 200-ish, even a little bit lower. Um, but yeah, if this is a longer term play, I should probably be looking at this on the weekly. Yeah, if you look on the weekly, Dix has just been chopping pretty heavy. Yeah, I like this a lot less on the weekly. This has just been chopped for a while. Yeah, I'll probably just ignore this. uh, all right, that's up to y'all. I'm gonna have to. I'm never charting that again. What is this? This is a pizza company, right? Is it Domino's? Shadow. Today in IWM, a green node formed at 261 with a rapid increase around 20 million. Shadow, can you DM me that question and I'll look into this after the stream? No, PNG. I'll get to PNG. Hazy, you're not trading Domino's and Papa John's? Um, yeah. I don't know what's going on with this map. There's a lot of volume. A lot of these food tickers, like Cheesecake Factory, Domino's, what's the other one? I think Dutch Bros. For some reason, they have monthly tickers, so I hate playing them just because they take forever. So I usually just skip a lot of the monthly stuff. I'll be honest. Um, yeah, EA has been a dead stock since it had that whatever news come out. So I would also just take that off your watch list. Elf looks kind of interesting. This is pretty low volume. Oh yeah, for anyone new, we're typically looking for at least 4 digits on the Gex to establish that a node is strong. The same thing on Vex. Or no, on Vex we're looking for 5 digits, right? So we'd be looking for at least 10,000 here. Same thing on Gex, we'd be looking for 1,000. So whenever I say a node looks weak, um, well, it can mean two things. One, it can mean we're not at that 4 digit number that we're usually looking for. And two, it could mean that it's just weak relative to all the other nodes for that given week or map. Yeah, Elf. Never mind. I was interested in shorts if we held 90 as ceiling, right, with this downside Vex target at 84. We already dropped what $4 today, so that move already happened. Enphase possibly can get a run up. Yeah, so Enphase if we manage. Oh, actually, holy crap! I don't know what I. Whoops! I don't know what I have. What is this? Holy risk reward. What was I doing here? Whoa, it's crazy. uh. Oh man, I don't know what I was charting here. I was charting a moonshot. All right, ignore that. I'm gonna leave that on. Actually, that's pretty funny. Yeah, don't take that trade, y'all. This M phase one. Let me see here. Yeah, so M phase. What I was gonna say is if we hold this resistance here, or if we get this support resistance flip. Oh my goodness, this thing is of around like 37.5 to 38-ish. Like this zone will look pretty good here. Um, yeah, it looks like it's holding up fairly well on the maps, but it's pretty cluttered on the way up, right? Like there's a lot of resistance at 40. Even 42 has some resistance. So it's just not a clean run up on this one. So we usually like to see a bigger air bubble, if that makes sense. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, EOSC is like a quadruple bottom. Yeah, I don't know about this one. Upside looks good into next week and the week after, or this week and the week after. But yeah, it's too much. Yeah, I don't want to risk the quadruple bottom. There's a high chance that that just fails. Etsy, I'm not gonna. Yeah, a lot of these maps look pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. FCX. Yeah, like FCX just overshot 62 and rejected. That would have been a nice play. But yeah, this $60 floor is going to give a bit of trouble here. So this one doesn't look like it has too much room. Oh, NDS. All right, I'll probably switch over to just cover all tickers that everyone asked about before. So I get everything finished before I hop off. Let me see. I'm just going to see if I find anything else here quickly. Fresh FSLR. But yeah, I'm not. A lot of these maps are looking pretty ugly. Did someone say GDX? ONDS, JPM. Yeah, I got like 20 tickers to go over for y'all. Oh man, GDX shorts today would have been nice. This 100 node would be crazy though. Well, if GDX like loses this 105 level, I could see it easily going towards 100. If this does start to free fall towards 100, actually, it's quite a move. It may just end there for the week, but you can also consider playing that bounce going into next week. But I would like to see some nodes show up for the following week. All right. I guess let me get to I. GE. GE, I don't see much here. Vernova has earnings this week. It might be Wednesday before. I think it's Wednesday pre-market. It seems to be biased upwards. But again, earnings is earnings, so take that as you will. Yeah, UPST I'll look at. Craig. Let me check Vernova. Yeah, it's been chopping in for a while here. Yeah, I don't not much thesis on Vernova. GILD. Gold's been on a rampage, so I'd be cautious shorting it, gold or silver. As some of y'all have probably seen, have been going pretty crazy. Google, yeah, I don't know why, but only Google with an L has the 3 expirations each week. But in theory, all the Max 7 should have that soon. So I'm not sure why Goog and Google are different there, but yeah, that 310 looks pretty significant going into next week. Only on Google though. Interesting. GoPro has a stock? Okay, GitLab. Someone asked about this. So GitLab, it looks like we have a strong 38 floor, and it'd be targeting 43. But we just ran up. Damn. GitLab. Was it you, Craig? Yeah, someone played GitLab on Thursday. Like this was a huge move Thursday, right? We rechased a bit Friday, continue pushing. I think they got some news of some acquisition or something like that. Okay, yeah, it was you, Craig. Okay, I knew I remember chatting about this with somebody. So yeah, this one already had a major move. If we're able to hold 38, right, which has been a pretty big Like we've had a lot of chop in this region in the past, right? So if we're able to clear this zone, like let's say here, right? Like this whole thing has just been chop. If we're able to clear this zone, that'd be a pretty strong move. That could be pretty nice. Where's the color change? I don't like it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this 43 node is pretty lit up. But a couple weeks out, we don't have as optimistic, right? So actually, I don't chasing this 43 node. I'd be pretty cautious on for this week, just because yeah, we are quite extended, right? Like we just had $5 move. Um, so for this to run another $5 would be pretty surprising. But if it's more long-term play, yeah, it definitely looks like there's more upside at $40, even 42 going into OPEX. So GitLab looks good if it's a more of a longer-term contract, but yeah, I guess the move from last week, like we've already had a huge push there, so I wouldn't don't get too greedy on expecting further upside there. You bought it again today, near open, Craig, or oh, Hames looks interesting. I think STX I haven't marked down. Yeah, big money. I'm about to go over all the tickers that people have been requesting. Any alert setups available when a ticker hits and bounce from the purple and yellow node is up? No. So Shadow Striker, the alerts right now are just for if price hits one of the major volume tickers, right? So you can set it up so it only alerts you if it hits a positive or a negative and like all of that. But there's currently not any alert where it's gonna tell you, oh, like we just bounced off a node and we have another node that's, I don't know, $10 above price, right? There's currently that functionality is not in there. You're a month out for wait, what is this again? Oh, a month out on GitLab. Okay, yeah, I think that's probably fine, Craig. Like you have a bit more time. Um, like the Vex nodes are there. It's just what I'll try to make sure is like, do they keep rolling up some floors to sort of hold price up, right? So we don't get any kind of major pullback. Hymns off 30 looks interesting. Actually, loading Friday on this pullback would have been nice, or even Wednesday, but yeah, Hims has pretty good volume going up towards 36, 33 this week, and 36 next week. So let me see, where would we get some kind of resistance? Yeah, this 32.5 level. So actually, that's the sort of peak expected level for this week. But this 32.5 level can give some resistance, right? This is previous support, resistance. Um, yeah, Hims looks like it's bottoming out. Let me look on the macro. So strong levels down here at 25-ish. But it looks like we caught... Actually, we didn't really bounce off any strong level here. Yeah, I don't know. It's still if we manage to drop further towards 25, I'd be loading like shares. Yeah, this level goes way back. Wow, this is a really nice level. Yeah, Hames, I don't know if we'll manage to drop to 25, but if we do, that looks really good on the macro. But anyways, so yeah, if we're able to hold 30, like on short term, Hims look like we can get a pretty nice bounce here. All right, let me get to I. Honeywell doesn't really have a ceiling though. Yeah, I wouldn't short Honeywell. Okay, I think someone said Hood. I mean, yeah, quick answer is Hood looks like a mess. Let me see. So we've been chopping in this area. Looks like we held this 103, 102-ish. So we held that level pretty well. This support resistance flipped. I guess on Hood, right? If we're... I guess if we come sweep this low... then I might be interested. And maybe you can catch some kind of earnings run up over the next couple weeks. But yeah, like it's like looking at this gamma map on Hood, right? Is we have nodes all over the place. A rejection of 110 could also work, right? If we come hit a double top and you play this downside. But again, like we still have quite a bit of volume above 110, so that's the reason. Yeah, Hood, it's pretty tricky here to make any kind of assumption. All right. Okay, I think I'll go over some of the ones that y'all were sending earlier now. Hut has a lot of downside. Hut's been chopping pretty hard. All right. All right, I'm just go down the list. I was sort of writing everything down that people were saying. So AMD already covered Coin, BitLab or GitLab. All right, Open and Walmart. So Open, I forgot who said it, but yeah, Open has been falling pretty strong. So it looks like the $6 level, still roughly in the realm, right? We're only like 14 cents under. I'd be looking for the sweep though. If we come sweep this level, especially this wick down here. So if we come sweep this like 570-ish level, maybe we can get a reaction off that. Actually, this level goes further back, right? We have this all the way back here. So previous high, flip to support a couple times. Well, we violated it once, but now we've come back, held it twice again in support. So this is like third tap, so it's a bit of a risk there. But what I always tell people is like with tickers this cheap, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just say, all right, I'm just gonna load shares, right? And then just work. Or you can play pretty in the money contracts or just very long term plays. So you can buy yourself time. Like with tickers this cheap, right? You can buy yourself time or a bit of safety, a bit of cushion, so the move doesn't have to happen immediately. Um, but yeah, it does have like going into OPEX in the week before these $7 nodes look interesting. So if we, yeah, definitely like if we come sweep this 570-ish level, then I'd consider open. I don't know. I might play shares with it just because I know it got a lot of traction on Twitter at one point. What was that, like a month or two ago? So a lot of times I get pretty nervous around tickers like that just because I feel like Webull also had a ton of traction and it's just been, they've killed it, right? Um, so yeah, that's the reason I say, okay, potentially shares would be a bit better with open and you just have a bit less stress that way. But yeah, definitely these pair of wicks here, even though it's a triple bottom, I still think it's worth taking light size if you like this setup. But yeah, this $6 floor. Yeah, I'm looking less at the $6 floor actually, and I'm looking more for if we can sweep these levels. All right, let's open Walmart. So I think someone said they're already in Walmart. Uh, yeah, IonQ and ONDS are on the list. What is this? Bulls and Bears. So Walmart had its own like support resistance flip here. It's been chopping pretty hard though. Actually, Walmart looks really nice. All right, so Walmart had a strong push, right? We've had now like a couple weeks of very strong consolidation, right? So it's just been sitting here, sort of in this level, this range here. It's held 117 pretty consistently the whole way through. It looks like it's floor, a given floor on the week. And here's a pretty good example of the VEX is showing almost primarily upside, right? So in these cases, we say, okay, the GEX is our floor, the VEX is providing more like the target. So Walmart looks pretty good. If we can hold this 117, so what I'd look for here is like if we don't play trendline breaks, but if you enter a play based on the reversal, right? So if you enter here and you say, all right, and you're in a play, a lot of times I'll still chart the trend line, right? Because if I see that starting to break out, then that gives me a bit more confidence to hold it longer. So even though our entry isn't based off of it, we can still use it to help assess, how aggressively how aggressive we can be on where we trim. But yeah, definitely bull flag, Jake. Yeah, beast mode. I got RTX. I'll write that down. All right. Okay. So yeah, Walmart looks good to me. Quantum. Okay, so IonQ. I don't know if it followed Rigetti, but I know Rigetti was beat down today. Yeah, so I guess all of Quantum was pretty beat down. This trend line doesn't really make any sense. Hmm. So these 50 nodes. I'm trying to think here. So the risk with IonQ, right, is this. It's a little bit hard to tell right now, honestly. It's like this can either be a liquidity sweep of these levels, or this can just be us breaking under, and now this is going to flip to be a resistance. So I'd be pretty curious, right? So tomorrow I'd be watching price action around 45. If you got in at 43, looks pretty decent so far, right? But the big thing is, okay, can we reclaim 45 as a floor? Because if 45 flips to a ceiling, yeah, that play will be pretty tough to hold through. But if this was a liquidity sweep and now we're flipping to, if we're able to reclaim 45 as a floor, then end of the day, what this would just be is like, all right, liquidity sweep. We tapped out this 0.707 fib, and then we can probably get a pretty good push. But yeah, what I will say is Quantum has looked pretty weak. Rigetti also today had pretty strong sell-off, so I think Rigetti is trying to catch a floor at 30 or 21, maybe. Yeah, so same thing with Rigetti here, right? Is okay if we can hold this level down here, roughly. All right, I have a ton of levels here. I need to delete some of this. But if we can hold this level here, right? Um, yeah, although this map does not look good on Rigetti, to be honest. Yes, actually, if we come sweep this level at 21, Rigetti looks pretty good. But yeah, I'll say IonQ, if you got in at 43, it looks well. It's just, yeah, I'd be, like I said, be tracking that 45 level to see if we can reclaim it as a floor. And that'd probably be the big thing I'd want to look for. You can also look at a few other, like Rigetti, and then I think, oh, that might be, I don't think we have any of the other quantum tickers actually on the heat maps, but just track like QBTS, QUBT, ARQQ. Just track those and see, all right, if we're catching strength along the whole sector, then that can also give you a bit of confidence to hold longer. Okay, Nike I'll look at as well. All right, Oracle. All right, so it looks like Oracle held this demand zone pretty well. So we wicked pretty hard under actually this like previous low, but we've reclaimed it now. Especially if we can hold 180 as a floor. Oracle looks like it can push a bit further. Let me think. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't get into Oracle, right? Like we just ran more than $6 today. If we can get like a bit of a bigger pullback, maybe towards this, if you think of this W, right? If we can get around a pullback to this neckline, this 180-ish level, then maybe I'd consider getting in. But we just pushed pretty hard today, so at this point, it's chasing if we continue calls. Now, if you're already in calls, then yeah, this play looks pretty good. Like definitely after today, you could have already trimmed and then just leave runners. Yeah, what you're gonna want to look for is can we break this 187, 188-ish level and push past that? No, ONDS, I'm getting to it. I don't since the beginning of the stream I just write down everything that people say, so I'm going through them in order. So I'll get to it. Okay, UNH has some crazy bullish. Oh, UNH just had earnings. I don't even. It's not really much for me to do here. Yeah, I mean it tanked on earnings. Like, see how the maps reshuffle, and then. But yeah, I mean if it dropped UNH in theory, like fundamental wise, if you're gonna long hold, you could probably hold this thing and start loading it. But um, oh wait, UNH reports earnings in the morning. Wait, what? Trump said something about them? All right, so in that case, UNH is either gonna recover all this based on earnings, or it'll just tank further. So again, earnings is earnings. I'm not gonna spend too much time going over something, especially if it just got news from Trump and it's getting earnings in the morning. Yeah, the heat map we have is based on market close, so it looks like this whole move happened afterwards. So there's not much I can say about that. Okay, yeah, thanks y'all for flat rates for Medicare insurance. Yeah, that's a good point, MZ. I mean, if you think Trump stuff is more fluff, then I'd probably be buying it, right? In that case, you're getting a free discount. But even if his stuff gets reversed eventually, we don't know when that'll be. So I would buy time if you're gonna do any kind of play like that. CVS took a big hit too. Okay, yeah. So yeah, anything that I see headlines about, I tend to avoid. Okay, Oscar. Somebody asked about Oscar. Also ask. Oh man, Oscar had a good. Yeah. Well, too late for that. Oscar doesn't really have a floor. It does have upside targets, but I'd say like I wouldn't really be looking at 20. The 16.5 is probably what I'd be looking at. Um, that'll give quite a good chunk of resistance. I guess for Oscar, you can be looking either at this 14.8 or this 14.2 as a level where we can sweep and then push higher. But yeah, I mean, these maps with upside nodes but no floor tend to be a bit. I prefer less to play them. But yeah, definitely I'd be looking, can we sweep at least this 14.8 and then maybe I'd take off that. So yeah, Oscar, I don't know, not loving it. All right, trying to get through everything else before I have to hop off. Intel. Yeah, Intel also, this map looks crazy. All right, looks like it's just been selling off since earnings. We do have. All right, so Intel is coming to a pretty good level actually here, where we've had one rejection, two rejection, three rejection here, and we're now approaching it from the upside. Okay, if this level fails, where else could we load? Potentially here, this 40.8. We've had a rejection here, here a little bit, and then we've held it as a floor. So either this 42.2 or 40.8, I'd say is pretty interesting. The issue is these heat maps, this heat map isn't showing anything. Like we have, I guess the 40 level is showing a bit more volume here, but this 42 level is just like a clump of negative nodes. So it'd be, I guess we are getting pretty good 42 confluence from the next few weeks. But yeah, 40 is definitely a stronger level in terms of Vex. Like we're seeing Vex all the way out on that. So let me think here. Potentially a fib could also help out. I'm curious. But we are kind of hitting golden pocket. Yeah, Intel may be worth like trying like a starter position and then potentially loading a little bit more as we drop towards 40. Um, but yeah, this has been quite the sell-off since I think part of this was earnings based and part of it was something about some materials. I think I had read right that they had some issue and they were claiming that they have some backlog in getting materials over. Can I do a live market session on FOMC? Uh, at 2 p.m.? Probably not. I usually have meetings, like one-on-ones. I can try in the morning. Oh, what's up, Jewel? I can try in the morning though. I was gonna do it today and I just completely forgot and I woke up late. And I was in some calls. But either tomorrow or Wednesday I can try to do those. Actually, Wednesday I should have time. I think I have a couple meetings in the afternoon, but in the morning I can try to do a stream because I don't remember why, but I blocked off the whole day. Oh, it's my dad's birthday, so I had planned to go down and visit him, but I'm gonna do it on the weekend. So Wednesday I'll be able to do that. Okay, 41.5 showing first resistance. 41.5. Yeah, I mean 41.5, 42. It's roughly same level there. But yeah, point is we're hitting this golden pocket, which is covering that 41.5 up to like 42-ish. So we can see some kind of level there. The based on the GEX, right? Yeah, 42, 41.5-ish is where we have like a bit of a mini floor. I'd say 40 is probably the safest entry, but again, I mean, these levels, it's a pretty cluttered heat map overall on Intel, but yeah, definitely like it sold off pretty hard, so this is definitely one I'd keep an eye on and try to start playing a reversal. It's just there's a few different spots I can see it happening, so definitely this is probably one where you want to scale in and just be a bit safer on the entry. Down at 38. Yeah, 38 also we chopped a huge amount around there, so if we all manage to drop all the way down there, that top side of that range will also be a pretty strong level. Yeah, thanks Dolce. Thanks MZ. Um, yeah, it's a lot of January birthdays in my family. Well, not a lot, but just me and my dad are January birthdays. Okay, Shopify. This dude. MZ. Shopify I like. Actually, so we just swept this level here. Uh, yeah, we had a pretty strong sweep. It looks like we swept 135 last week. It looks very bullish actually for this week and over the next few weeks. So Shopify looks nice. Um, Let me see if there's anything concerning. The only concern here is I guess this level's been tested quite a few times. But this double bottom, this was long time ago. And we did kind of hit that 135 last week. So Shopify looks pretty good, I'll be honest. Now, if we fall under that 135, I wouldn't be interested until like 129, 130. Um, but yeah, Shopify looks decent. Looks like we swept this level. We just need some kind of reaction, right? Like we got a good reaction the first tap, and sort of we retrace back down. So it's now that it's the second bounce there. Um, yeah, we can. If it double bottoms, this will be pretty nice. So Shopify may be worth taking a play at it. So yeah, maybe Shopify. All right. Dell I already looked at. Twilio. Twilio usually has crappy fills, but let me check. Let me check what the setup looks like. Okay, so Twilio, we just pumped off 130 today. So I'd be, like, we just got delivered from this node. I'd probably be ignoring it. And I'd be expecting a lot of the GEX and VEX to roll up to 140/145. Would I short 140? Probably not. I'd probably wait for 145. Like 140 structure wise on the chart, 145 makes a lot more sense. If we come up here, sweep these highs, we can probably get some kind of rejection. 140. 140 could give resistance, but on the chart, it's not a very strong level. So I'd probably be waiting for 145 and see if we can catch some kind of short off of that. But yeah, that like this pump off 130 is already gone. So I wouldn't look back at that. All right, Twilio, Rocket Lab. No, I haven't looked at Tesla. It's on the list though, so we'll get to it soon. Have about 20 minutes, so I should get to all of these. All right, Rocket Lab. What the heck? All right, this map is super weird. All right, so Rocket Lab, we have this sort of flip zone here. Um, we do have a pretty good floor at 80, honestly. It's pretty weak. Like these nodes are not very strong, but it's a pretty sustained level over the next couple weeks. So I don't mind it. And on the chart, it looks pretty strong too. So yeah, Rocket Lab, I might be looking. Okay, if we can hold this zone, yeah, I wouldn't target 100, but now if you're playing long term, right? If you're playing like 2 months out, maybe you can target 100. If you're playing more short term, you'd probably be targeting 88, 90. This 90 level is also pretty consistent. So like as we push towards 90, that'll give resistance. Looks like whichever week we go hit it, looks like it can give some pretty strong resistance. So I wonder how much these contracts cost though. I don't. Rocket Lab usually has a pretty high IV is the only problem. So if we play a month out, like 90 calls, yeah, I mean the IV is not terrible, but it's not great. Yeah, it's near 100%. Um, I do like the setup though. I'll just be careful what contract you're buying. Make sure you don't go too far out the money. This just because I see this 90 level could give some problems, but yeah, this definitely looks like a pretty good buy zone. Double bottom here, previous resistance. Rocky Log looks pretty good. Yeah, it would be nice though if this 80 level strengthened on Kex, though it's pretty soft at the moment. CLSK, I know Glitch was playing this a couple weeks ago. Uh, yeah, it looks like we have a flip level here, kind of. Yeah, like this 1230, right, where we had resistance. We sort of hovered under it a couple weeks ago, and now we've broken above and held it as a floor. The only thing that concerns me on CLSK is we kind of have a rug setup, right? So even if we push, we only really have like 50 cents to a dollar of upside room, and it looks like we may reject. So actually, it looks like we just rugged today. Um, we don't really have a floor, so yeah, I don't have too much of a bias on CLSK. Like what I'd like to see potentially, like if you're targeting maybe this OPEX upside, right, is can we form a floor going into next week and then play that bounce up? Issues we have earnings next week, so yeah, I don't know about this one. I think the rug pull was pretty nice, but it already played out today, so there's not much to do there. Hood already went over. Hood looks. I don't like it too much. Tesla. All right, Tesla has a crazy OPEX node at 500. Right, not much to go off of on the heat map, so I'm gonna check the chart. This 435 level looks pretty good. Oh wait, Tesla has earnings. I mean, yeah, there's not much I can say on earnings. It looks like we're biased upwards, at least based on the heat map VEX for OPEX. Based on this week, we have about 100,000 volume downside. Upside, we have maybe like 200,000 split across a lot of these nodes. So it looks like it's biased upwards, but again, earnings is earnings, so it's not. I don't have too much to say based on earnings, just because that's regardless of what the heat map says, that's always going to be the riskiest kind of plays to take. All right, yeah. So Palo Alto had a huge run. All right, so whoever had, I think Craig, right? You said you had this. Palo Alto had a super nice move today. It's looking like okay. So we do have a pretty strong level here, like 180. If we can flip 185, Palo Alto looks really good to push. Probably up to this wick here, either this wick here at 194-ish or this wick up here at 196. Um, yeah, I probably wouldn't if you're in runners at some point, right? Like if you're trimming out along the way, I'm probably not holding until 200. I'd probably hold like a very small position to 200, which would be this wick all the way back here. So I'd be looking at one of these two wicks around 195 to 196 as potentially giving resistance. I'd probably trim most out by there, maybe leave just one running any further. But yeah, this play already, as long as we flip 185 to a floor, like if we break above, this play looks great. Like this is a super good catch off 180. Super strong move there. So yeah, nice one, Craig. Okay, Palo Alto. And for anyone that's not in Palo Alto, yeah, I think it should suffice to say don't chase. Like we also just had a significant move there. Okay, STX. I think Hazy, you were mentioning this. Someone else mentioned it too. Oh, sweet. My trading view is lagged. Wonderful. Hello, Nico. Oh, shoot. Someone left a comment on YouTube. Can you go through quickly on the price action on QQ? Alejandro Topo? Alejandro, can you DM me on Discord? I don't know if he's still in here. Damn, I missed this comment. All right. Okay, so what were people saying? STX short of 320? I think is what people were pointing out. Is this thing at all-time highs? Is this earnings too? Yeah, this looks like an earnings play. Uh, STX downside. Oh, even OPEX has pretty good downside. 250. What the hell? I mean, they'd have to have a terrible earnings to drop 100+ dollars by next week. Yeah, I mean, it looks biased for earnings downwards, but we also did just pump off those levels, right? Like this 330 just flipped as a support. Seagate. I'd have to look into what their holdings are. Wait, they're. Oh, this is after close tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's worth the lotto, but again, it's check IV on these, and I'd probably be trying to get 340, 350s in case this 330 level holds. But again, earnings is earnings, so it's yeah, we're definitely biased downwards based on the maps, but I've seen maps be pretty far off on earnings. I've seen them get it right, I've seen them get it wrong, so it's as always, size those appropriately. And if you're trading smaller portfolio, just don't even take them. All right. Yeah, so these memory stocks. Yeah. So I mean a lot of these memory stocks have just been pushing nonstop. I'm pretty hesitant to short any of these just because I feel like a lot of this volume will just keep shifting upwards and forming new floors as we go. Um, but the fact that the GEX hasn't rolled up much at all, like we have a bit of volume here at 380, a bit of 400. This one may be worth, what was the other one? SNDK. Maybe worth trying this just with the lotto back down to this 345-ish level. Or the opposite is, even if you're a bit too hesitant to short this, if we do get this kind of move down, like a bounce off 345 does look super strong. So if we, whether you short or not, which I'd be treating that more as a lotto, I hesitate a lot to short all-time highs, whether it's indexes or individual tickers. But with this kind of pullback, like we get a $40 pullback. This is a huge, like a pretty strong resistance. If we flip that to support, I would say a buy off of that level is pretty strong potential. But yeah, I don't think I'd short it myself. But also, I don't manage huge amounts of money, so then I can't. If you could size it as a lotto, that's fine. I would do it, but I'm not able to do that, so I tend to skip those plays. All right, SNDK. Yeah, SNDK. This is probably gonna be the same thing, right? Like I'd be watching out. Okay, is this 460 catching more traction as a floor? that can possibly prevent this kind of downside. Looks like we bounced off 460 today as well. But if not, like I would just size this as a lotto. But yeah, again, these kind of rips on all-time highs. Oh, and we have earnings. 435. Like we just came from those levels last week. Yeah, especially SNDK. I think SNDK earnings, I don't know how correlated it is with MU in terms of movement, but they may move together based on SNDK earnings. So actually what could be happening here is if SNDK just tanks, MU could also it could drag MU down with it. So that might be what's happening here. So yeah, maybe worth a lotto. Sometimes what'll happen is when you have these sympathy plays, right? And again, I don't actually know if these are moving directly one to one, but a lot of times when you have these sympathy plays, um, the volatility is going to be super spiked on SNDK, obviously, because they have earnings. So a lot of times people will play the sympathy ticker just to get lower IV percentages on the contracts. So that's also something to consider. Is like, oh, can we potentially play MU to still capture part of that move, but hopefully get less screwed over by the IV crush. But again, like they also account for that, so it's like you're still gonna get the IV crush is gonna hit you no matter what. But that can be a way to avoid it a little bit. I wrote down ZM, but I swear whoever left this comment said ZS, so maybe I wrote that down wrong, and I can't remember who asked for that. But I'm almost positive it was Zscaler. Typical. Yeah, so absolutely. It's if we're just chasing downside, especially on any kind of move ticker that's pushing all-time highs, it's a pretty risky thing to do in my experience. All right, Zscaler has just pushed pretty hard. I think on the macro, this is catching pretty good bid. Hit some pretty good levels. Yeah, if we're able to flip. Oh, so it was Zoom. All right. Sorry about that. Let me flip off Zscaler then. All right. Is Zoom get news? What's going on here? It's like a $12 pump in a day. Yeah, I don't know what kind of news Zoom just got, but on the macro is $100. Yeah, I guess this 100-ish has been a bit of resistance. Actually, no, like more like 96 has been a bit of a resistance in the past. Um, oh, invested into Anthropic. Okay. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess what's the thesis here? Like a continuation play? To me, any kind of move like this, I'd let it cool off before taking any kind of further play on it. Like I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, after seeing a move like this, I wouldn't really do anything. 'Cause calls are going to be inflated now, right? Like premiums are going to be super inflated due to a move like this. So I'd be ignoring Zoom. Potentially you can look at 100 if you want to play the reversal. But again, if this is some big news-driven thing, I don't. I guess I don't like to get in the way of headlines, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'd be curious to look back if Zoom had any clues that it would have a move like that previous to this announcement. Procter and Gamble. I don't remember who asked about this. So this is a pretty good example too, right? It's like as we pump off of an earnings node, we had earnings, we sort of dropped and pumped overnight. Um, I believe this 145 is probably a leftover level from there. So if we come back and retest it, I'd probably play this resistance flip to support. I would not chase this node though, because there's a chance that this node just keeps fading as the week goes on, and it's something that was left over from last week when we had earnings. But yeah, I'll definitely track it if we manage to retest that 145.50, 146-ish level. It can be definitely something that we long. ONDS. Yeah, good night, typical. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I can look at SPY afterwards. Right, I gotta. Alright, let me crank through these. I gotta get through these quick. ONDS. I don't remember. Someone said they had a position on this. I think they had bought in a bit higher. Let me see. So it looks like we just swept this wick. What's pretty critical here is can we come and reclaim this? Like, can we hold 11 to 11.5? The issue is we kind of just fell off this rug pull off $12 today. But like looking long term, it looks like it's primarily bullish. Um, we just don't have much structure to go off of. Let me think here. Yeah, so the other thing you could do is wait for some kind of fib retracement, which will probably put you at around $10 as an entry. So somewhere here, this roughly lines up with this previous resistance as well. So like a safe entry would be down here at $10. If you've already got it in, I'd be looking for a price to reclaim this 11.5. But at least based on the current maps, this rug pull is a bit concerning. This 12 and 11.5 nodes is a bit concerning there. You're long 11.2. Oh, so you got in on this week. What expiration, Bulls and Bears? Like if you're 12 calls a month out, you're probably fine if we hold this level. But if you're 12 calls next week, I'd be maybe looking at it different because it looks like it's been chopping for a bit and it's just dropping slightly, like just consolidating for some period. So it might need a bit more time to consolidate before getting some kind of move. But I mean, I think sweeping this 1120 back again. So even though you got in here, the fact we just swept it could give it a nice reaction. So I would give it a day or two just to see if we can get some kind of move there. Oh, this week based on Keynote. Oh, and you got 12 calls itself. Okay, so I mean, yeah, you can't change that, but in the future, for any of these plays you take, don't grab the strike of the king note itself, right? Issue there being, right, like what if we end the week at 11.9, right? Your thesis was correct. It's just you're going to be a bit screwed out of the position just because you got the strike itself, right? So like obviously account size permitting, what I would do is grab either 11.5 or $11. So especially on these cheaper tickers where you can afford to get those at the money contracts, I'd recommend doing that in the future. But wait, so you bought in 11.20? Are you in runners or did you not scale at any point? So actually, yeah, maybe DM me about that, but I'm curious how you manage that trade because in my mind it should be off. So if you're playing the wick that we just swept, I think just let it play out tomorrow. Um, but yeah, I think like a double bottom off that wick, I think we can expect some kind of reaction. So, but we are opposing, like there's a pretty strong rug pull setup, so you're kind of opposing that. The map is kind of opposing the direction there, if that makes sense. But yeah, the bigger comment is probably just on the actual strike selection on the contract. It's just be cautious there, because even 5 cents under that $12 is you'll be out of luck, even though you took a good trade, right? So it's just make sure you're buying a contract that'll allow you to capitalize on it. Yeah, it's the main point I want to make there. Okay, yeah. So JPM swept this week at what 296, 297. If we hold 300, so if we flip 300, right, we have a bit of a level here. Oh man, can't. Yeah, so we have a bit of a support that's now flipping to resistance. If this holds as resistance, obviously this plays probably pretty cooked. If we're able to reclaim it as a support, then JPM does have a pretty good staircase, right? So next week 315, week after 325. OPEX week we have from 330 down to 310. So again, to be conservative, I'd probably be targeting like what 315 maybe even 310 just to be safe. So obviously contracts will be way more expensive, but like there's a lot of stuff that can get in the way of this 325 node from coming true, right? But it does look like JPM is catching a pretty good support here. So as long as we're able to flip this 300-ish, 301-ish level, JPM looks pretty good. Okay, upstart. Ooh, and okay, I gotta do these quickly and then hop over to a call. Irsh, Irsh, can you DM me about SPY? Um, yeah, I generally don't chart them. Like I just like indexes. I generally don't chart. I just allow. I just check what the heat maps look like on a given day. So I mean, I can chart a few levels and send them over to you, but I generally don't really try to have a bias going into the days, just so I can stay neutral and just react off what the Trinity is, like the Trinity mode is telling me. So I think Craig had asked about Upstart. So Upstart, we've tested this level on the downside quite a few times now. We've managed to hold it though, like this 45-ish. I think you were saying there's a trampoline. Yeah, there is. It's weak though. So probably what I'd say on Upstart is like, okay, if we can hold this trampoline, get a bit of a trend line break here, then we can get some more upside. But overall, these are pretty weak nodes. So I just, even on the VEX, like these are pretty weak nodes. So I don't, this 40 level, let me see here. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Upstart. It's been chopping for a while now, like 2 months. Uh, yeah, I mean, if we hold this trampoline setup, I think we could get a pretty good move here, right? If we flip 46, break this trend line, I think we could get a pretty nice move. There's a lot of stuff in the way, like these negative nodes, but this will help accelerate the move. If we do get going, like this stack of negative nodes will help really push it higher, at least towards like 48, 49, I would expect. So yeah, I'd probably just be looking at this trendline break. I know we generally don't play trendline breaks, but like playing this reversal here would have been really sketchy just because this level's been tested like 5 times. But yeah, upstart doesn't look bad, assuming we hold that level. All right, RTX and Nike. All right, I'll have to go over these two and then I have to hop off because I have some one-on-ones later. Okay, so RTX 205 has huge volume. Looks like this high was towards 203. What is this, Raytheon? Yeah, it's Raytheon. So based on Vex, right, I would be looking for 185 as a buy zone or 205 as a rejection zone. We did have a super strong wick. This is overnight though. Was there some kind of news on this? Oh, this has earnings. Oh, this has earnings in the morning. All right, there's nothing we can. All right, there's nothing we can really do on Raytheon. Uh, I mean, yeah, it looks like upside biased based on earnings, but unless you're planning to play shares on Raytheon, Harrison, just DM me. Um, yeah, there's another way to like find those links, but for now, just add me as a friend and DM me, and then I can help you set one up, and we can chat. Yeah, we can chat this week even if you need or on the weekend. Okay, Nike reverse rug pull. Yeah, Nike trampoline looks pretty good on 65. We've been chopping in this area a while. Yeah, it's been a lot of chop here. So off 62 was a really good buy off this kind of double bottom. The issue with Nike is, yeah, this Vex is really soft. Looks like we have a bit of volume at 68 and 70. Um, but yeah, Nike, we really need to clear like the 66. There's been this zone here where there's a ton of chop within this range, right? So I'd be looking for, okay, can we get a break above 66? Maybe a break and retest. But the reversal, I guess last week was really the reversal at 62. So yeah, I think Craig, you had mentioned this off 65 or trampoline setup. Um, so you can do that. What I'd also be looking for is can we, based on the chart at least, can we break and retest the 66-ish level? But yeah, overall Nike, it's this has been a lot of chop lately. So I don't know if Oh, rug pullish? I don't know if I'd be looking at a rug just due to like we've had this support level here at around 63, right? That's held a couple times, and it's also fairly strong node here on the map. So I don't know if I'd be looking at a rug pull on Nike. To me, honestly, it may just look more like chop than anything. 65 has no vex positioning. Yeah, that's a good point, Sumina. It's not very strong on the vex. On it, like, yeah, overall Nike, I'm not too much of a bias here. It looks like 70 to 60 will be the range. So what I'd say, right, especially based off these OPEX nodes, is any tap of 60 or 70, even in the weeks preceding it, is potentially a good short, like a good range play, right? So if we hold the 60 level down here this week, or even this 69, 70-ish level wicks up here, I'd be comfortable playing that kind of range just until we reach OPEX. But yeah, like it seems almost all the volume is within that box, if that makes sense, from 60 to 70 bucks. Off 65. Yeah, I can see the argument off 65. Um, but again, it's we've chopped really heavy in this area. So yeah, I don't know if I'd play here. I'd probably be waiting for more of these like range plays. 60 has been growing on both Gex and Vex, Sumina. 60 and 7. Okay, interesting. I'd have to go look at the replay for that. So I think you tried this last week, right, Sumina, in your trade log? Or did you just post the idea? 66 turned air pocket into negative Gex? I'd have to check the replay, but if this was truly like very low volume and now it has about 1,000, negative 1,000, um, obviously we're going to get increased volatility at that point. So the way I look at it is either they've rolled the ceiling down a little bit if the volume came from higher, but if the volume came from lower, then sometimes that can help amplify the move if we do get started upwards. But yeah, I would definitely say the buy off 63 is a lot safer. It doesn't look like we're going to pull back to that level. So we may just bounce from where we are right now on Nike. Yeah, 65 hold is probably the big thing there. Okay, I do have to hop off now. But again,